Hello, and it's me again. So, a few days ago, I made a video entitled Chris and A-logging. It was the conclusion to a series of videos about why you should not be one of those weaning trolls, and also why you should not enable Chris Chan or his, well, let's put it, dreadful behavior. Now, I could argue the nuances about Chris being a victim of circumstance. I could argue about how all the things he absolutely is responsible doesn't make an iota of difference about what he gets taught or not, that his actions make him who he is. I could argue these things all day long. However, if you've caught the title of this video, I'm just going to explain it in layman terms. I'm going to keep this as brief as I can, but well, it goes something like this. Whatever you do, guys, no matter how bad or like how much you think it'll help you out, take it from me. Do not compare yourself to Chris Chan. And I will explain why now. First of all, okay, here's the first thing I have to point out, and let's just let's start with me, for example. Let's just almost establish a base as to why I don't do it and why it's not a good idea. First of all, I have a job. I mean, so what? Hundreds of thousands of people do just in my city alone. Why that makes me better or even good is arguable. There are a lot of not very nice people who are in work, ladies and gentlemen. Let's be honest. That if you think that's the first thing as well, is that in the grand scheme of things, it's probably not great, perhaps, or it doesn't make you automatically a good person for the reasons I've just mentioned. But let's get over. Let's move on, because does being in work make me a better person than Chris? Not really. Does being able to be classed as a safe driver make me better than Chris? Not really, because sometimes it can take one mistake and it could cost somebody their life, and that's obviously it's very dependent on actually being personally responsible for the things you do. And by the way, being responsible is not particularly that special either, and it doesn't make you a better person if you're responsible, if you're caring. A lot of things, ladies and gentlemen, you've got to start noticing a theme that actually trying to be, caring, responsible, loving, attentive, patient, responsible, kind, all of these things, in hindsight, they don't really make you a better person, because a lot of people are, but sometimes their motives they do things for not for the best of reasons. They do them just because it's a prerequisite to everything else, so that they can be justified in actually being paid for the things they do and for the things they're good about what they do and all the rest of it. But does that make you a better person? Not really. And then, of course, we come to the fact that, well, I may claim to understand more about how to write for several different mediums better than Chris, but does that make me a better person? No. I haven't really delved into any real kind of art for over 8 years, but does that mean my art is better than Chris? Again, beauty is in the eye of the beholder, so perhaps maybe no. Maybe Chris probably is maybe slightly better than I am in one way or another, but there you are. It's just a case of it's all a matter of perspective, and I've argued the nuances, and I've tried to make cases about using me as an example back and forth. And something you may have noticed as well was the fact that a lot of the things that people would seem to be actually quite proud of don't really seem to be a necessary reminder if you're better than Chris or not. And I'm going to tell you why that is as well. Because it's all very good to be proud and to take a special care of the things you do. There's nothing wrong with having a certain level of self-esteem and self-respect by saying that actually, you know what, you feel proud for the things you do, and you feel good because you think you've done some good for not just yourself, but for the people around you. There's nothing wrong in feeling proud in that sense. That there's nothing wrong with that. But the problem is that you could say that, but don't compare yourself to Chris then, because we all know that Chris has a very miserable sort of existence. I mean, considering Chris's reputation, considering the family he's ostracized, the family he's lost, all of the things that he's done on the internet, things that nobody in their right mind would even consider without a thought. The fact that Chris doesn't really seem to hold much regret for anything he's done, apart from sitting on a $10 chocolate cake he bought from Walmart back in 2011. And no joke, that is apparently the one thing Chris claims to regret outside of, everything else. But here's the thing, ladies and gentlemen. If we know that Chris is, in many respects, maybe at the bottom of, the bottom rung of the ladder, why exactly do we want to compare ourselves to people who are at the bottom? Why not, instead of leveling down, why not level up? Why not look maybe higher in the in the social standing? Why not look to people who are successful, who can be themselves, people who've made a fortune of the things they are passionate about and the things they love and the things they care about? Why not aim towards people like them instead of looking down below and thinking, you know what, my life might be shit, but at least I'm not them? That sort of mindset really is not good enough, and it's something you learn as you get older. And I've kind of wanted to make videos like this for a while, where I'll just come out and say, you need to be, if you're going to be looking down below, you're going to be thinking that even the most minute of things are worthy of praise and merit, because you are who you are, and you're not people like Chris. But I'm sorry, that's not good enough. Think about, if you go to work and think about, how your manager got to where they are, and maybe you want to perhaps aim higher in the social standing, or earn a little bit extra a month, or take pride in the fact that you want to take on more responsibility and you want to do a better thing at a better case at your job. If you aim for people like that, ladies and gentlemen, people you aspire to, and the people that you have their respect, that's the sort of thing you should be aiming higher at. Because, well, I say that, but then there comes the very awkward question of, well, where exactly does Chris really place in terms of social standing? Because I think the topic is a pretty pretentious one in many respects, but considering Chris's pedigree, let's say, from his financial situation, his long-term unemployment, his shilly-shallying around financial responsibilities, the fact that he seems to have induced a lot of weight and merit into his fictional world as opposed to the actual house he used to live in for years with his mother, he prioritizes things like that over the things he needs to be responsible for. Again, some people may be looking at that and saying that, well, what more proof do you need? I take care of the house I live in. I pay my bills. I look after my space and stuff like that. And why not be proud of stuff like that? Well, it's pretty obvious. I think it's pretty obvious that I am very, very passionate and very emboldened about where I live, and the fact that I'm working to stay here and to possibly even go further than where I am. But does that make you a good person either? Well, you could say it doesn't. It's neither here nor there. It's you are self-motivated. You are motivated by your own wants and your own needs, and there's nothing wrong with that either. It's just a matter of, you have a plan, and you know exactly, you have your priorities in order, and there is absolutely nothing wrong with that. And you'll take a drink every time I mention that, because it highlights you're aware and you know what's going on around you, and you can it's, you don't want to live in a fantasy world where you think everything's okay if you just don't focus on it too much. You know what sort of world this is and the sort of people that inhabit this world. Which you say, but again, does that make you a better person than Chris just because you know what's going on or not? That's the thing as well. And it's when you even begin to argue in details like that is when you sort of begin you sort of maybe a little bit understand a little bit more about where I'm coming from. Yes, you may be, but does that make you better? Or I'll go actually, to be honest, I'll end this video with this. Is it inevitable that it was always going to be that at least we're not Chris? And the other question is, well, does it even matter? We know fine well Chris's situation is, at this moment, it's about as comfortable as it's probably ever going to be. We also know that Chris has had a long reputation, not really one that gets brought up too often, is that whenever Chris is comfortable in his surroundings, he will form and make a very, very comfortable nest that he will just lie in and just watch the world go by. And it doesn't really seem to bother him, because it really shouldn't, to be honest. I mean, why be uncomfortable in your own home? Why not be comfortable in your own surroundings? You make your pit, you lie in it. And some would say that's absolutely fine with Chris as well. It's just, if that's what he wants, then I suggest whatever's good for the goose is good for the gander. And I don't argue really here or there. And, well, like I said, is there, and I just to really end this video off by saying this, that if you think there's nothing better going on, or if you think that you're sort of confused a little bit about where you're going in life, and the only thing you have to aspire to is to look towards somebody else, well, instead of looking outward, maybe we should be looking a little bit more inward. Maybe we should be looking at ourselves. Maybe we should be focusing and concentrating on not trying to be better than somebody else, but trying to be better than what we are right now. It's personal responsibility for ourselves. And that is actually continuing to perhaps the best of them all. So there we are, ladies and gentlemen, free from the shackles of having to explain why you shouldn't be comparing yourself to Chris, and instead being less like despiring, if that's even a word, despiring being like somebody else, and inspiring to be more like what you want to be. And now that we're free, we are going to be the greatest of all time.